Hi, Nathan here, founder of Embodied Excellence, certified high performance coach, and creator of the Infinite Possibility video series. This week, what I want to talk to you about is failure. And I know you're so tired of hearing about failure. You probably hear about it all the time. And the reason that I want to talk about it and just kind of keep it in people's face is because for any of us who are out there and we're going after it and we're after the growth, we want to improve ourselves, we want to have a bigger vision or bigger dream for ourselves, and we're just trying to really make our impact or make our difference in the world. Well, for those of us, we know that we're going to hit those moments where we miss the mark, where we wanted to get here, but we only came in down here. Because that's just the way this game goes, is when you stretch yourself, sometimes you're going to hit it big, and other times you're just going to fall flat on your face. And that's all perfect, because that's all part of the learning process, as I'm sure you already know. But I wanted to give you some tools or some thoughts around the idea of failure that have helped me before, and I'm hoping will also help you when you find yourself in those moments where you're stretching and you're going after it and you fall flat. Because again, I know it's going to happen. It happens to all of us who are out there stretching, and I just want you to be as prepared as possible so that you can be as successful as possible. And so here we go. I know that there are three different ways in which failure affects us or can affect us, and the way that it hits our identity. And that first way is really about, we ask ourselves that question consciously or subconsciously. It's like, who do I think I am, right? And maybe you've experienced this when you tried to go, maybe you went out for that sports team, the basketball team, volleyball, whatever, and you didn't quite make the team. You didn't make the cut. Or maybe you went for that big presentation. You wanted to be the boss, be the big person who just rocked that presentation, and maybe you didn't. Or maybe you're the person who is going for that big promotion at work, and you didn't get it. And so these are the times, these are the different areas in our lives that where sometimes we can come up a little short, and we kind of say, well, who was I to even go out for the team? Or who was I to go after that promotion? I don't have the experience. I don't have the wisdom. I'm too young, or I'm too old, or whatever the case may be, is we start to challenge our own identity and who we believe ourselves to be. And we question that, and then we start to put ourselves down. And we start to put ourselves at this lower level of who it is that we really are. So we diminish our light. And none of us should be doing that. And so what I would ask you to do, and what's been helpful for me, because there are times, and I'll tell you, one of the reasons why this happens, right, is just we feel embarrassed. Because maybe we told some people what we were up to, what we were going after, we didn't make it. And so we feel embarrassed that, oh my God, I told these people, and now I didn't get there. Now they're going to think that I'm no good. And they might be thinking thoughts like, well, who were you to even try that, right? And so that sense of embarrassment really hits us directly at our identity of who we believe ourselves to be. And so I'm going to challenge you to, in those moments, to spin that script around, flip that script. And instead of saying, well, who am I to have gone after that dream, or who am I to have gone after that goal, is I really want you to focus on, well, the question of what kind of a person does it take to do something like that? What kind of a person does it take to go for that varsity level, or to try and get on that team, to try and get into the professional sports arena? Or what kind of person does it take to go after that promotion, or to volunteer to give that big presentation? And the answers that will come up are probably going to be things like, well, it takes a brave person. It takes someone who's confident. It takes someone who's courageous to step into those moments and to go after those things. And so by doing this, instead of lowering our identity of who we are, who we believe ourselves to be, now we're accessing words of our identity that are more empowering words. Again, like courageous or strong, visionary, or a leader. And those are the kinds of things I want you to be feeling about yourself, because that's who you are. If you're the kind of person who is stretching yourself, who is going after something that's bigger than yourself, and you're trying to stretch and you're trying to grow, that's the kind of person it takes. And if you don't quite get there on the first try or the second try, so what? You're learning, you're still stretching, you're growing, you're going after it. And so, coming back to that piece of embarrassment, trust me, I have embarrassed myself plenty of times before. As a yoga teacher, oftentimes I'll just be in a class and I'll be walking around and I'll be saying the things that I say, and sometimes just the wrong word comes out of my mouth. And that can be pretty embarrassing. And oftentimes what happens is I just kind of chuckle to myself, which is a great approach. If that's not something that you're used to doing, is just laughing at yourself, I highly recommend you get into the practice of doing that. It's such a good way to not hold on to those worries or those fears about how did I perform or how did it go. Because again, we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to go in and out of being better at what we're doing. And so if you can laugh at yourself, then, oh my God, it makes a world of difference. So when I'm in those moments, I just usually laugh at myself. If I said something silly in class or the wrong thing came out, or oftentimes I see students will be laughing as well. And that brings up another great point, is that the internal dialogue that's going on in our head about what other people are thinking is so often not even the case. It's not even true. People aren't going to laugh at us. People aren't judging us. In fact, people are saying, oh my God, I don't know how that person's has the courage to step up there and do that thing, because I could never do that. So very often people are actually inside, they're probably praising you for just the effort that you're making and that you're putting yourself out there. So very rarely does our internal dialogue about what we think other people are thinking about us, it's very rare that that's actually the case, that that's true. So that's another thing just to keep in mind as you just go big and go after your dreams. And when you don't quite get to where you want to go, people aren't putting you down. People are supporting you. Whether they say it out loud or not, I guarantee you have supporters. Okay, so that's the first way, is that we sort of challenge our identity of who we believe ourselves to be. And the way I want you to spin that around is just to say, well, what kind of person does it take to do what I'm trying to do? And access those positive words, those empowering, strengthening words. And I realize that that's who you are. That's the spirit with which you're coming forward from. Okay, so that second area that affects us is our ability of what we believe we can do. So the first one is more kind of about being. How are we being in the world? That second area is what we think we're capable of doing. So this kind of hits our skill set arena. Well, who am I to actually put together a presentation that's worthwhile or that's good? Or who am I to teach a yoga class? What do I have to say? What is my knowledge base that I can give to these people that's going to be beneficial? And we just start to put ourselves down in that arena. And here's an interesting thing about this particular one, is that have you ever noticed that when you do something really, really well, what do you tend to do? You tend to be like, well, one, you get excited that you did such a great job. And then that's your new standard. So if you do something really well, like say, just an easy example of say baseball, if you hit an average of a 300 batting average, well, that's kind of the new standard that you expect for yourself, is that you're going to hit that level. And so what happens is each time we go out, okay, that's where I should be, or getting better. And so we create that higher expectation for ourselves, that I made it this far, now I should do at least as good or better. And that's awesome. That's what keeps us growing and doing better. But the interesting thing is that when we don't do well at something, when we do poorly, we tend to put ourselves down and be in that area of, okay, well, I'm just not that good. And we don't always, or often we don't say, okay, next time I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna do better. Sometimes we just think, well, I could only do this good, and maybe I got lucky even doing that, right? And so when we do poorly, we tend not to raise the bar on ourselves as often as when we do really well. And so my invitation around that is just this. If you notice that when you do something and it's not amazing, or it's not like really good, when you do something and it's like not up to your level, just still keep that standard for yourself. Say, okay, hey, I didn't make it. That's cool. I didn't make it this time, but you know what? I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get there. I'm going to get to that level this next time. And even if you don't, that's okay. The point is that you keep on setting that bar high, and that's what's going to make the difference. And so remember, don't let yourself stay down here. It's okay to recognize that, okay, this is what happened. This is kind of the level that I'm at. So here's what I want you to do. When you find yourself in that situation, where maybe you're not performing as well as you wish that you would, is I want you to ask yourself, and again, this is another question I want you to ask yourself, is what would I have to do if I were to get better at X, Y, or Z skill set, whatever it is, what are the things that I would have to start doing? And see what comes up. And so instead of coming from the victim place of, okay, well, why did that happen? Why didn't I do as well as I wanted to do? Which is more of a victim mode kind of mentality. I want you to ask yourself, what would I have to do to get even better at that skill set the next time? Because here's the deal. All of us, and I'm sure you know this analogy, when we first started learning how to walk, how many hundreds of times did we probably fall down? And yet we kept going, we kept going after it, we kept trying. And that's the exact kind of mentality that you need to have. Because little kids, when we're that age, learn to walk, we don't have an identity about who we're supposed to be in the world and that, oh my God, I'm a failure because I couldn't stand up. That doesn't happen to us. And that's why we're able to so easily keep going, keep trying, keep going after it. And that's what I want for you, is to, with that first question, is really understand, okay, well, I'm brave, I'm strong, I'm courageous. And then just accessing, okay, what are the things that I would have to do to get to that level? Because again, we're out for growth, personal development, getting better. We're going to stretch ourselves. And when we do that, what's going to happen is that we are not going to, again, we're just not going to do as well. And so we need to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, just like when you were first trying to learn how to walk. So I want you to ask yourself that question. That's the second one, is we tend to question ourselves and what we're capable of doing and our skill sets. And so I just want you to turn that around and ask yourself that question. What would I have to do if I'm going to get better at this skill set? And then start doing it. Whatever it is, put it in the calendar. Start doing it, start cranking on it, start working on it. And I guarantee you're going to get better. One of the things I like to say to people is that where discipline meets commitment is you're going to have progress. Always, 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 always. And so have the discipline to keep going after it. And then when we take that consistent action, we're going to consistently start to make progress. And with consistent progress comes success, ultimately. And so what's that third area that I talked about? Well, this is really around when we're in the negative side of those first two and who we believe ourselves to be and what we believe ourselves to be capable of, what we start to do is from that point, it's really hard for us to imagine a compelling future for ourselves. Because if you're just in the dumps, if you're like, oh, I'm a loser, I'm an imposter, who am I to do that? And you're like, I don't even have the skill sets to do this thing. Whatever this thing is, I don't have the skill set. Look at me, I tried and I failed, I look stupid. Well, of course you can't foresee a compelling future for yourself. And then what's going to happen? Well, if we don't see a compelling future, well, that completely strips us of our motivation. And we're not going to even continue going after those things. But now that we've flipped the script on those first two, let's take a look at it. If you believe yourself to be brave or strong or courageous or a leader and ambitious, and you know you've identified for yourself, so I just have to get better at these skill sets. I have to practice this, this, and this, and then I know I'm going to get better. So with that positive identity that you created for yourself, and then looking at that plan that you created around your skill sets, well, now you can see that compelling future. Now you're like, all right, if I go forward from this place and go after that thing, I can see myself making progress. I can see that happening, and I can see it ultimately being successful. But that's all going to come from those first two steps, is really ensuring for yourself that, again, you have that positive identity of who I am. So making sure that you ask yourself the question, what kind of a person does it take to go after something like that, to try and stretch, to go for that growth? And write the words down, whatever it is you believe about that person, because that's the kind of person that you are. And then that second area is identifying, what do I have to get better at? What do I have to start practicing if I'm really going to get this rocket ship to ignite and take off? Put that in the calendar and move forward from that place of those confident, strong words that you have. And then the other thing is really the third area is envisioning that compelling future for yourself. What does that future look like? Like, make it very real for you. What is that daily reality of that future when you start to do all those things that you talked about? And when you start to take action from that place that you talked about. That's what I want you to do. And write that down, journal about it. Because you want to be able to feel that compelling future. It wants to be very real for you. So you can feel it in your bones and every fiber of your being. And then you can really own it. You can really own feeling that strength and that confidence and all those things, all those words that you came up with on who you are. All right, so those are the 3 areas that I really want you to focus on. That's your challenge for this week, is to take on those 3 areas and really notice in your life maybe where in the past you've not done this and how that's turned out. And notice where you have done these things and how that's turned out for yourself. But just to recap for you, here's the challenge. I want you to notice those areas that you're trying to grow in, or maybe areas that you've recently not hit the mark the way you wanted to. And then I want you to ask yourself that first question of, okay, what kind of a person does it take to even go after a dream, ambition, or goal like that? And then write those words down, really live into those words, be those words, feel those words, embody those words. And that second step is going to be to, okay, what are the skill sets that I have to get better at, that I have to practice if I'm going to get really good at this particular thing? Write those down, put them in the calendar. And then that third area is going to be envisioning that compelling future for yourself. And so really, again, journaling about this, make it real, make it vivid for yourself so that you can really see that daily reality and then see yourself living into it. And then all these things combined will give you a whole new twist, a whole new spin on what failure really means. And you're going to be like, well, this failing isn't so bad after all, because you get to go through this awesome activity and exercises to really just amp up your game and go to that next level for yourself. And that's what I want for you. All right, so that's the challenge for this week. I hope this video has served you. If so, hit the like or share button. Share it with someone. If there's anyone who you know is really struggling with feeling like they're going somewhere or just needs that extra lift to get them to that next level, then send them this video. Hopefully it'll inspire them to take the action that they need to take. So I want to thank you for watching. And until I talk to you next time, I want you to go out there every single day and in your way, be an extraordinary ambassador for humanity.